Starting off today in our comfortable seated position, as always, well, whatever that means for you today is fabulous. We'll spend just a couple moments here because like I said, we are going to start with some stretching and it will start from a seated position. But let's begin as we usually do with a little bit of body awareness with our few initial small ranges of motion before we move into a little bit more intensive stretching today. So starting off with our scan of the body, and that scan of the body, as always, is without any judgment or just noticing where we're at as we get started with class today, noticing how you're feeling. And this is a great thing to do, especially on times like the long weekend when maybe you aren't moving the same way that you normally do on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Your plans may be a little bit different. Don't be afraid to just kind of take a moment and take a scan of the body and notice maybe where you could find a little stretch on Saturday or Sunday, or where you could get a little bit of movement in. Maybe sometimes it just takes that moment to scan the body and just notice what your body could use that day or in that moment. So starting off from the top of the head and moving all the way down to the tips of the toes, and recognizing those points of tension, recognizing those spaces that could use a little extra leeway or a little extra love today, and also recognizing those spaces that feel particularly good. And maybe you could push that extra half notch as we get that intensity up throughout the class today. As you take that scan and you notice those spaces, I want to invite you to take those couple of initial ranges of motion that may feel good to get your practice started today. So whether it's a lateral stretch, a spinal twist, a roll of the head and the neck, or the shoulders, we will do some lower body warm up, but if the lower body's feeling particularly tight, maybe you take the legs long and find a fold. We'll take about 4 nice deep breaths in whatever of those ranges of motion or multiple of those ranges of motion that you find that will feel particularly good to get started before we start truly moving today and before we really start our practice. Starting it off on a good note, taking about 2 more nice deep breaths here. And when you finish that second nice deep breath, just go ahead and bring it on back to center, nice comfortable seated position. All right, when you get to your seated position, I just want you to take a moment to think about your posture, to consider just allowing your shoulders to maybe release away from your ears, allowing your jaw to loosen if you're someone that clenches your jaw when you get stressed, allowing your fingers and toes to wiggle maybe just a little bit. If you haven't done that yet today, it might feel kind of good. And thinking also about finding your long spine, whatever of those comfortable seated positions you're in, pulling the shoulder blades just slightly together while keeping them low away from the ears. And then let's just start off today with a nice easy spinal twist. So a bigger range of motion than we normally start with, but I want you to just take it at your own pace, take it slow and controlled, and take it at a range that works for you. As always, feel free to keep your arms low as you move through center, but each time I want you to find that long spine, or if it feels good, you can stretch nice and long when you come through center, and then exhale to that second side. So that inhale brings us through center, and that exhale brings us down in that second direction. As always, arms can stay low as you pass through center, or if it feels good, you can take them high. Taking a couple of deep breaths here, nice and easy. Starting off with that range of motion and finding, like I said, the depth that feels good here, finding the pace that feels right here. Let's take about 2 more nice deep breaths, maybe 3 if you need to even out. Just finish on one more side, or one more for each side. There we go. When you finish those last 2, use that last big inhale to bring it back to center, and then that exhale to release, whether the arms come down, whether you just remember to release the shoulders again. When you get back to center, let's take it right into some shoulder rolls, getting them warmed up a little bit. Either direction is fabulous, just bringing them up towards the ears, and then either down and forward or down and backwards. Excellent. Let's go ahead and change direction. Take those shoulder rolls the opposite way. Fabulous. One more nice big circle and then release those shoulders low away from the ears. Let's take it into a lateral stretch next. So once those shoulders are released, give me that big inhale to take those arms out and up. With that next exhale, take that right hand or that right elbow down to the mat, extending that left side, that left arm up over top for that big stretch. And then go ahead here and move at your own pace. Those inhales bringing you through center to that nice length through the spine. Those exhales bringing you down in that opposite direction. Same as that final twist, you can take it at whatever depth and whatever pace feels particularly good today. So maybe just the palm comes down, maybe the elbow comes down, finding whatever works here. And I know that this can be kind of an intense stretch if you haven't quite warmed up that part of the body yet. So don't be afraid to take it a little shallower if this is a little bit intense right now, and work your way up as it feels better. We'll take about 4 more nice deep breaths, so about twice more in each direction. And about 2 more. When you finish those last 2, you even out that second direction. Just find that big inhale to bring your spine back to center. And then you can release those arms down and around. So take your time, finish out, even up, get back to that center position. You need to do an extra 1 or 2. That's totally fabulous. We're going to take it on to a little bit of lower body stretching next. I'm just going to turn sideways so that you can see me, but we're going to take our legs out long. So feel free to adjust your positioning if you need to, or stay facing the camera if you have that space right in front of you. We're going to start off with a single side lower body stretch. So I'm just going to take my left leg, I'm going to fold it in. The bottom of my foot is going to find my inner thigh. And then we're just going to start off nice and easy. So again, this can be kind of intense if you haven't found this range of motion yet today, but I just want you to walk your fingertips down your right leg, finding the stretch that feels comfortable, nice and easy, easing into it, exhaling into it, and don't force it to go deeper than it feels good. So find that stretch that feels good. A little bit of intensity, but no pain here. Finding those couple of nice big exhales, maybe rounding out a little more through the spine, maybe experimenting with lengthening the spine and seeing how that changes where the stretch is, and then exhaling to round into it a little bit more. Excellent. Take 2 more nice deep breaths in this nice easy forward fold. See if you can get just a little deeper with that next exhale. And then with that next inhale, go ahead and roll it on up. We're going to take that left leg that was folded in and we're going to cross it over. So my right leg stays long. I'm going to take my left foot, cross it over my right leg. We're going to find a final twist to the left first, and then we will counter twist. So take your right arm up towards the ceiling, open up the chest towards that left wall, and then feel free to bring that right elbow around to the outside of that leg. Maybe you just bring the hand around to the outside of that leg. Wherever you need to be, that left hand can come around behind the back and help with assisting and opening up those shoulders towards that side wall. Same as before, don't take this as an intensity that's uncomfortable. Just take it at one that feels good. Next exhale, let's find that counter twist. Take it back through center and then all the way over to that right side. You can lift that left arm and bring it around if you'd like to, or you can keep them low as you move through center. A little bit more intense here than our spinal twist, our active spinal twist, because you can use that little bit of pressure through those arms, through those legs to intensify that twist. Next exhale brings that torso back to center. And then all we're going to do to adjust from here is we're going to keep that leg crossed over the knee. We're going to bend the right knee and plant the right foot. So I put a little pressure back into my palm, finding that figure 4 stretch. Now you've got a couple of options here to make this one more intense. The first thing I want you to think about doing is that left knee, just actively press it away from the body. So not using your hand, but as if you were using your hand to press that left knee and open it up. From there, you can find your long spine and walk those hands in until you find that high intensity, or if it feels good, you can rock it on down onto your back, interlace both hands underneath that right knee, and still thinking about opening through that left knee, pulling the right leg in just slightly until you find that high intensity. Either of those options is fabulous. If this is a little bit too intense and you want to take it down in intensity, you can lengthen that leg while your seat is up tall and just maybe find a little bit of a forward fold. Again, we've got 3 options there. Any of them is fabulous. Let's take 2 more nice deep breaths in this figure 4 stretch, this piriformis stretch. When you finish that second nice deep breath, if you're down on your back, just go ahead and bring it on back up. We're going to lengthen that right leg, and then we're going to take that left leg and we are going to bring it back to that initial positioning. So kind of folded right in front. The bottom of the foot is on the inner thigh, but maybe a little looser. Let's transition to our half pigeon. So I'm going to take my right leg, I'm going to put all my pressure on my left hip, circle my right leg around, and then maybe it takes you a second to kind of adjust up and sink into it. But either way, we're sinking into that half pigeon. Feel free to move a little bit forward. If you were closer to the back of your mat or the back of your room, we're sinking down equally through those hips. The closer towards your body this folded in foot is, the less intense this will be. So if you're in this stretch and it doesn't feel intense and you want to take it up a notch, all I want you to do is just think about taking this left leg a little bit closer to parallel to the front of your mat. And then we're sinking in equally through those hips. We'll take about 3 or 4 nice deep breaths. So feel free to find that range of motion that feels good for you. Maybe you keep it up on the palms from here. Maybe you bring it down to one elbow or both elbows, and maybe you sink into it. Now, this is a little bit over intense. Feel free to just kind of rock off of it for a second, or to keep that shin planted and come up a little higher to decrease that intensity on that left glute. Fabulous. Any of those options that you had, we'll take one more nice deep breath. And then if you came down to the elbows or let the head meet the mat, go ahead and bring it back up to those palms. And then we're just going to reverse this and bring that leg back around. So I want you to just go ahead and rock onto that left hip once again, circle those legs around, and then we're just going to bring it to that other side. Same stretches. So that right leg is going to fold in this time. That left leg goes out long. We'll start with that forward fold, nice and easy, same as before. Just go ahead and walk those fingertips down the leg. Find that intensity that feels good for you. And again, feel free to experiment if it feels good here. So maybe you experiment with lengthening the spine a little bit, hinging a little bit further forward. Maybe with each exhale, you try and release the spine or you release the head and the neck, wherever you need to be for that good stretch to come out of this. One of the nice things about practicing at home is that you don't have to feel intimidated by being a little bit less flexible or more flexible than the person next to you. So that's one of those great things about being able to just kind of take it at your own pace and take it at that intensity that works for you without pushing past that point of comfort. From here, let's take it to that final twist. So next inhale rolls us up, cross that right leg over the left. We've got that twist towards our right side first. The left arm lifts up. We twist over towards that right wall, opening up through those shoulders. If you went in that opposite direction, we'll still counter twist, so don't worry about switching it up here. But finding that nice twist, finding that opening through the shoulders. Maybe to intensify, you look over that right shoulder a little bit, open up a little extra pressure through that left hand. Let's take it to that counter twist. Next inhale brings us through center, releases. And then again, you can lift the right hand if you'd like to, or you can keep it low, bringing it around in that opposite direction, taking that nice big stretch here. Fabulous. Our next exhale brings us back to center. We've got our figure 4 next. So from here, we're keeping that leg crossed over. You can bring it back onto those hands, plant that foot, think about opening through that right knee, and then you've got this as your first option. Here is your second option, rocking it down onto your back. And that lower intensity option here is that leg out long and that little bit of a forward fold. Take the option that works for you. We've got about 4 nice deep breaths in this stretch. Taking it nice and slow to get started today, but sometimes you just need that little extra care and keeping and stretching of those muscles. So again, you've got all those options. If down on your back is too intense, you can keep it up with those hands right behind you, nice and easy. Think about opening that right knee a little bit towards that opposite wall. Go ahead and take 2 more nice deep breaths wherever you are. And if you're down on that back, go ahead and bring it on up to meet us up seated. When you get up to seated, we're gonna release that left leg. The right leg comes in, and we're gonna make that transition to our half pigeon. So feel free to adjust before you swing it around, but that weight goes onto that right hip. We circle that left leg around. Again, feel free to come up and sink into it if you need to. Feel free to take any of those options. That foot can come in a little closer towards the body. You can put a little more pressure on that shin. And then feel free to take it down towards the mat if that feels good, maybe down onto one elbow, maybe down onto both elbows, maybe the top of that forehead meets the tops of those hands. And remembering to find your breath in this. I know that I've said this before, but if you don't practice this stretch often, this can be super intense, and that's okay. As long as it's not painful, find those exhales and try and relax those muscles as you're in this stretch. Let's take 2 more nice deep breaths here. And then if you're down on those elbows as you finish that second breath, go ahead, bring it up to those hands. And then we're gonna swing it on around. So rock over to that right hip one more time, circle those legs around. And then we're gonna take it on down onto our backs because we're gonna get going in some of our core work here. So bend those knees, plant those feet, bring it on down. First thing we're gonna do is start off with a little warm up of the glutes and of that upper core. So we're gonna do 2 exercises and kind of pull them together. We've got a crunch and then we've got a glute bridge. So the first thing I want you to do is think about where your feet are. Make sure they're in a place that they're planted, nice and solid. And if you lift those hips up, you can have the full bottom of the foot on the mat, nice and solid, and a nice long line from those knees to those shoulders. From there, we've got a crunch. So the hands can be behind the ears or down at your sides, wherever you'd like them to be. We're crunching head and shoulders up off that mat. When it gets back down, we're doing a glute bridge. So just alternating here, nice and easy. Upper body crunch, glute bridge, squeeze through those glutes as you press the hips up towards the ceiling. So this is kind of our warm-up range of motion, getting those muscles moving now after that initial stretch and keeping on breathing. And we're just kind of gonna keep moving through these core exercises today. So if at any point you need a little break, you need to maybe pull the knees into the chest, I want to invite you to do that. Take that little break and rejoin us when you're ready. So don't be afraid, because we are just going to keep it moving, keep it going throughout the rest of the course of this before we hit those stretches again. We're here in this crunch to glute bridge for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, we're gonna take this up in intensity. You have the option to stay right here and keep it right here, or we're gonna take it to a single-sided crunch to glute bridge. I'm gonna take my right ankle, I'm gonna cross it over my knee, just like we were doing that figure 4 stretch. My right hand goes out long, my left hand comes behind my ear. We've got a half crunch, left elbow towards that right knee, working on that left side oblique. When we get back down, I'm going to use this right hand for a little pressure, and I'm going to press my hips up in our single leg glute bridge. Same thing, alternating back and forth. Left elbow towards that right knee, and then single leg glute bridge. Here we go. And as always, you've got that option to stay with that first exercise, keeping both feet firmly planted on the ground if that's a better option for you today. We will switch sides, but if you're doing that double-sided option with both feet down, you we'll just have the time to rest and come back to it. Couple more here, keeping it moving, trying to lift that left shoulder up off the mat as much as you can. Exhaling to press it up off of the mat. We're here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're switching sides right into that other side. Cross that left ankle over that right knee. Right hand comes behind the ear. Switch it up. Right elbow to left knee. And then lifting those hips up, pressure through the bottom of that right foot, making sure that you're not lifting onto those toes or onto that heel, but that full right foot is all the way planted on that mat. Keeping it moving here, keeping breathing. Single leg glute bridge is an intense one. Nice work, you guys. Nice work, you guys. We're here for another 4, 3, two, and one. Go ahead and release that ankle from the knee. We're still in that knees bent, feet planted position. We're going into our penguin. Fingertips point towards the heels. We lift the head and shoulders up off that mat, side to side. Right fingertips towards the right heel, and then left fingertips towards the left heel. Bringing it right through center. The chin is about a tennis ball size space away from the chest. So we're not crunching that neck in. And if you can't quite reach those heels, don't worry about it. It's the thought that counts here, working on those obliques. Make sure you keep breathing. We're here for about 15 seconds. 15 more seconds. Fabulous. Keep it moving here. Looking good, looking good. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release that head and shoulders back down to that mat. We're taking those knees up to a tabletop position. We're going to change up that bi-directional crunch. So we've still got our crunch here right down center, and then we're going to do a bent knee, leg lower, heels come down to meet the mat, and then they come back up to that tabletop. So crunch, and then leg lower, getting it going right there. And feel free to only take those legs down as far as you're comfortable with that lower back, nice and solid and firm. So if they don't quite meet the mat, that's okay. We want to keep the lower back safe as opposed to overdoing it and putting a little bit of pain to that lower back. Keep breathing, keep moving. Fabulous work, you guys. We're here for about 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Bend those knees, plant those feet. Take those hips right up into that glute bridge once again. We want to get those glutes activated, but we also want to get the rest of that body activated. So think about tensing through the core. Think about tensing through the feet, through the hands. Maybe the palms meet the mat, and we press them down, press the back of the head down into the mat. Let's march those knees. Hips stay nice and high and even. Knee stays bent. We march one in, and then we bring it down through center, and then that other in, nice and easy, side to side, getting it going right here, working on those glutes, working on that core, making sure those hips stay even so they're not rocking side to side when you lift that foot up. Fabulous work, you guys. Keep those hips high. We're here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend those knees, plant those feet, set those hips down. I want you to pull that right knee in towards the chest and then extend that left leg out long, about 6 to 8 inches up off of that mat. Now, as we get into this exercise, the higher that foot is, the easier this exercise will be, and the lower that foot is, the more challenging this exercise will be. So feel free to scale according to where your lower back can handle. From this, lift the head and shoulders. We've got the right knee pulled in towards the chest. We're up off of that mat. We're floating here. And then we're going to take that right leg out to meet the left. They're both long for a moment. Legs are long, and then we pull that left in. Left comes in. So it's not a bicycle. We're not just scissoring and switching, but we want them to meet out long and then pull back in on that other side. That's the most challenging part of this exercise, is that little float out nice and long. Again, if you need this lower intensity, we've got those feet up towards the ceiling. If you need that higher intensity, taking them just an inch or two from the floor. Don't forget to keep breathing. And we want that lower back to be nice and solid and stable. It doesn't need to be 100% flush with the floor, but it shouldn't be shifting up and down as you shift those legs. We're here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pull the knees into the chest for just a moment. We're going to go back to that starting position. Right knee is pulled in, left leg is out. This time, let the left foot meet the mat. Take that left hand onto your right knee. Right arm comes out long. Let's do a spinal twist. Right knee comes across that body. Maybe you use the left hand for a little bit of support. Maybe you use it to press it down a little bit deeper into that twist. Once again, find that comfort zone. We're here for one more breath. And then let's pull it through center. So we're back to that starting position. Let's switch those legs. Left knee pulls in, right leg goes out long. Keep that right leg floating. Let's go back to that core exercise. Lift the head and shoulders. Here we go. So taking that left leg out to meet the right, nice and long, and then pulling it on that other side. Same as before. Feel free to take those feet up a little higher as the core gets a little bit tired. Oh, that kind of rhymed. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Nice. Keep breathing. Keep moving. We're only here for a couple more moments. Looking good. Looking good. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, briefly pull those knees in towards the chest. When you're ready, we'll go into that opposite side spinal twist. That right foot meets the mat. Left knee stays pulled in. Right hand meets the left knee. We pull it across. Again, you can use that hand as a support, or you can use it to intensify this stretch. Either option is fabulous, depending on how you're feeling today. Excellent. Let's bring it back to center. Let's work a little bit on our lower core. Take those feet up towards the ceiling. For more intensity on this one, your hands can be out wide. For less intensity, you can use those hands for a little support underneath those hips. I like to kind of put my thumbs right underneath my hips, right underneath that first point of pressure on the mat. It just makes it a little easier on my lower back. We've just got a leg lower here. So just taking those feet nice and long down towards the mat, and then back up towards the ceiling. The knees can be slightly bent if the hamstrings are a little bit tight. And same as those other exercises, if you need a little less range of motion to keep that lower back nice and strong and stable, I want to encourage you to take it. Now we've been moving for a while. If you need a second, feel free to pull those knees in towards the chest if you need that extra break here, and then come right back to it and meet us in these leg lowers as soon as you're ready to get moving again. You guys look awesome. Keep breathing. Way to work. Fabulous job. Give me 2 more leg lowers. 2 more leg lowers. That's it. 2 more. And then pull those knees in towards the chest. Give your core a nice little break. Nice work, you guys. Awesome job. Awesome job. Pulling those knees in. Give yourself a second. Maybe it's a rock side to side, or maybe it's in little circles. Maybe that spinal twist felt really good after that core exercise. So you can let those knees fall to one side. Open up opposite shoulder. Over through center. All right, we're gonna hit our obliques next. So I want you to bend the knees, plant the feet, and then we're gonna roll it up to seated. So use a little momentum if you need it to come on up. We're bringing it up to seated. Our knees are bent, our feet are planted. Get rid of this guy. There we go. All right, now from here, we're just gonna do a nice flow and controlled Russian twist. Your heels have the option to stay down on that mat, or for more intensity, you can lift them up. But if you do lift those heels up and you find that your heels are kind of rocking side to side as we find our twist, I just want you to kind of evaluate where that's coming from. Maybe place those heels down for a second, see if you can bring that control back in, and then slowly lift them up off of the mat. Either way, we're gonna find a little bit of an angle for the torso. So not sitting up quite upright, but the lower you go, the more intense this is going to be. I want you to make sure your lower back is nice and long. Take those fingertips together and out long in front. We're just going to open up. So chest opener, spinal twist. Fingertips come down towards the mat behind you. Maybe they just come out to the side. Maybe they come all the way around behind. And then bring it back through center. Same thing other side. Nice and easy, slow and controlled side to side. If you can, try not to put any pressure through that hand as it comes around behind. We're working on keeping that angle with the spine, that 45-degree angle with the spine without using those hands for support. But if you need to at any point, feel free to set it down, take that moment, and come back to it. Nice work, you guys. As always, don't forget to breathe here. I know core makes that challenging sometimes. Awesome work, awesome work. Keep moving, keep breathing. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2. I want you to go ahead and sit it up, sit it up. Maybe it's a little forward fold. Maybe you keep those knees bent and those feet planted. You place the torso on the side. Maybe it's a spinal twist with a little bit more force and a little bit less core work, wherever you need to be for that quick recovery on that one. All right. We're going to do a roll up with 3 pulses next. So a little bit of full range of motion action. As always, I want you to feel free to take that momentum with those hands if you need it. The less momentum you use, the more challenging this is going to be. When you're ready, we're going to roll it down onto our back. We're going to bend the knees and plant the feet still. Our first inhale is going to take those arms up overhead. Our exhale is going to roll us up to that seated position. From there, we're adding our 3 pulses. So as soon as you get up to that long spine, we've got a 3, 2, and 1, going halfway down and halfway back up. You find that long spine at the top, and then we roll it down, super slow and controlled. Bring it down towards the mat, exhaling to come all the way down. releasing those fingertips up overhead, and then going once again, same thing. Our exhale brings us up. Use however much momentum you need, and then keep it going. 3 pulses, and then that rolls down. Make sure you use your exhale to come up off of that mat. So I know this is kind of challenging. That full range of motion sit-up isn't something that we see all the time these days, but that's okay. We've got just a few more. Bear with me here. We're almost to the end of this core section. You guys are doing awesome. You're doing great. You look awesome. Lots of core work, lots of core front work. Fabulous job. Wherever you are in the one that you're on, we're going to finish this one, and then we're going to do one more. So whatever halfway or part way that you are, finish that one out, and then we've got one more, all the way up, 3 pulses, and then all the way back down. When you get down back onto the mat after that last one, feel free to find a recovery pose that feels good for you again. So maybe it's those knees come into the chest. Maybe you stretch out nice and long. Maybe it's a spinal twist in each direction. We've got one more set of core exercises before we stretch it out. And that set is going to hit our core back. So we got to focus a little bit on that upper and lower back. I know that those are tough muscle groups to hit when you have the weights in the gym sometimes. So we're going to work a little bit on them today to finish us out. So I'm just going to roll it right around and bring it on over onto my stomach. Feel free to make any adjustments that you might need to be able to see me, to be able to see the screen, but also to have the space to have the legs out long and the arms out, as long as you can get them. So if you have a little bit less space in your area, they can be in on the mat if that's where you need to be. So we're going to start off nice and easy with an X lift. We'll move right one into the other. Feel free to keep it any previous option if you need to, if the next one is too intense. So our X lift, we've got our opposite arm and opposite leg coming up off the mat, and our exhale to lower us down. Just like that, keeping it moving. So whenever you're ready, getting going, opposite arm, opposite leg, come up. Try and keep your neck kind of neutral. So I'll look up occasionally just to see what you guys look like for those of you that have your cameras on. However, trying to make sure that your eyes stay down towards the ground and not straining the neck to lift up. We're going to take it up a notch. If you'd like to stay in this X lift, I want you to feel free to do so. All we're going to do to take it up a notch is just take it into a Superman lift. So really briefly, both arms and legs can come up. We have a little pause at the top, and then we exhale to lower down, making sure that we're not just flopping onto the ground, but we want to lower onto the ground. So with purpose, using those muscle groups to resist gravity a little bit as you come down. If this is super intense and not comfortable for your lower back, I want you to feel free to leave those feet on the ground or to keep it right at that X lift. Keeping it moving here. We've got just a couple more minutes of work, you guys. You're doing awesome. All right, to add a little bit of that upper back work to this lower back work, we're going to do a lat pull down when we get to the top of our Superman. So all we're doing is we're going to lift up, we're going to add on, we're going to pull our elbows in towards our sides, the shoulder blades come towards each other as we do this with a lot of purpose, and then we're going to extend back out and lower down. So we extend up, elbows in, arms out, and back down. Just like that, we're almost there. This is our last set of exercises here. Keep them breathing, keep them moving, hitting our core back before we finish out. We're here for about 15 more seconds, so choose that most intense option that works for you and keep it moving. Nice work, you guys. Keep breathing. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, do one more. Wherever you are, one more full one, all the way up and all the way back down. When you finish that last full one, we're going to give that lower back a nice little break into our child's pose. So go ahead and plant those palms, bring it up, those knees come wide, those hips go back towards the heels. If that's not a super comfortable position, feel free to make any adjustments that you need. Maybe keep the hips high and take the arms down low. Got just a couple of cool down stretches in our last 2 or 3 minutes here. Awesome work today, you guys. We did a lot of core focus. But you guys killed it. You did awesome. From here, we're going to take it into our Cobra stretch. So bring it up, bring those knees in if you need to. Press those hips down towards the mat. Arms can be long, arms can bend. We're just peeling the chest up off the floor to wherever it feels good. Excellent. We're gonna take it from here to our puppy for our spinal twist. So those knees stay planted, those hips come right above the knees. We walk those hands out nice and long in that puppy pose, and then we'll take it to our spinal twist. Right hand lift, and then threads underneath, placing the right shoulder on the floor. That right arm goes out long towards that left side, left arm is out long. Now from here, you've got your two options. You can keep this arm long, or if you'd like to intensify, you can take it to that half bind, lifting the left hand up towards the ceiling, facing the palm around behind the body, and bending at that elbow to bring it almost around to that right thigh, opening the shoulders towards that left wall a little bit more. If that doesn't feel good, feel free to just keep that arm long and right out in center. Take one more nice deep breath there. When you finish that last deep breath, we're bringing it through center. Our final stretch is just that spinal twist in that opposite direction. So taking those arms out long, taking that left hand, threading it underneath, placing the left shoulder down on the mat. Again, that right arm can stay long, or you can take it up towards the ceiling, face the palm around behind, bend at the elbow, and bring it around for that half bind. Final stretch here. Excellent. Go ahead and release that bind if you found it. Bring those arms back to center. One final chest stretch in that puppy. And then we're just going to walk it into that seated position. All right. When you get there, we're short on time. I did a lot today. So thank you so much for being here. I can't say it enough, but I appreciate you guys. I appreciate having you here every week. The light in me honors the light in you. Bowing as we say namaste, and I hope you guys have a fabulous New Year's Eve, a fabulous New Year, and I'll see you guys next week.